Hello, everyone. My name is Tim Gleisner. I'm with the Library of Michigan in Lansing. Today, we'll be talking about Library of Michigan's online resources for the History Detectives 2022 program. Just to tell you today, we'll be talking about how to get a Library of Michigan card. We'll also be discussing about what you can do with the Library of Michigan card, and we'll be talking about, in general, the Library of Michigan. Just to give you a little background first, my name is Tim Gleisner. I'm the head of collections. My contact information is gleisnert@michigan.gov. My phone number is 517-335-8389. And the general reference email for the Library of Michigan is librarian@michigan.gov. So again, gleisnert@michigan.gov. My phone number 517-335-8389 and librarian@michigan.gov. In case if you didn't know, I used to be the head of special collections at the Grand Rapids Public Library. And before that, I was also the local history and genealogy librarian at the Herrick Library in Holland, Michigan. So just to give you a little background today about what is the Library of Michigan. Well, it's an institution created by the state to collect and preserve and provide access to the story of Michigan and to support libraries in their role as essential community anchors. And since 1828, during Michigan's territorial days, the Library of Michigan has served state government and the people of Michigan, much as the Library of Congress works at the federal level. Below, you'll see a brief timeline starting in 1828, then 1837, and on to our current building that was built in 1988. And again, about 4 blocks from the state capitol in downtown Lansing. Just to allude to what it means by the Library of Congress, why we are like the Library of Congress, but in a miniature scale, is that we collect information on the state of Michigan. That is our primary purpose, be it state government documents or Michigan books, whatever it might be, we collect information on the state of Michigan. So just to tell you, this is the library here. We're about 5 stories big, and we are full of information on the state, be it family history, be it on the history of the state. And I am the head of all these collections, including the Michigan Documents Collection, includes information from the state prisons, state parks. So if you're doing research on anything to do with the state, I really encourage all of you to come to the state library. The Michigan collection itself, located on the 2nd floor, is full of newspapers from virtually every county in the state. We have magazines, gazetteers, plat maps, maps in general, county or place histories, on and on and on. And one important thing to tell you is we try to collect 2 or more copies of each item, be it on microfilm, be it in book form, magazine form. And I strongly encourage all of you, if you have materials that are available or that are Michigan related, and you can't find a home outside of West Michigan at the Grand Rapids Library or the Herrick Library in Holland, I would strongly encourage you to think about your Library of Michigan here in Lansing. Especially if it's Michigan information, be it from Ontonagon, Detroit, Sault Ste. Marie, whatever might be the case. And if you are looking to make those donations, please make them at www.michigan.gov/librarygift. Now, just to tell you, much of the information today is on a subset of our webpage under Family History Resources. The databases we'll be talking about in detail today are only available with the Library of Michigan card. And this is our homepage where you can find all the information about getting a card or our databases or family history resources at www.michigan.gov/Library of Michigan. Just to make it a little bigger for you, again, www.michigan.gov/Library of Michigan. That is our homepage. That is the entry point for everything that you'll be seeing today. So this is the homepage here. And first we'll be talking about the Answer catalog, or what we like to affectionately call Answercat. And this is the entry point into Answercat. This is a highly powerful tool, one that is available to all of you from home. Now, you can't get resources through Answercat, but what you can do, and just to show you, is a shared catalog between the Library of Michigan and the Archives of Michigan. So what I tell everyone is, if you're doing research on the state of Michigan, it behooves you to go to answercat.org and look up information on the Library of Michigan, the Archives of Michigan in Answercat. It is the entry point into all the physical materials in the Library of Michigan and everything in the library, be it a map, be it a book, a magazine, a pamphlet, is cataloged and listed in Answercat. Highly important. We try not to have any hidden collections here at the Library of Michigan. Now, Tim, this is not an online resource. And I would say, yes, it is. Because first of all, if you were to travel here, I would really strongly suggest that you come to the catalog. And I strongly suggest that for any library that you visit. But secondly, we have what's called MelCat. And this is an online resource. This is something that you can get from home, from your home library, the Grand Rapids Library, the Kent District Library, the Herrick Library in Holland. Those are all MelCat libraries. In fact, a vast majority of the public and academic libraries in the state of Michigan are on MelCat, and they share materials with MelCat. For this, you do just need your public library card and have it in good standing. But just remember when I told you, the Library of Michigan buys or tries to buy 2 pieces of every material we collect. So if we buy a book, we try to buy 2 copies. If we buy a microfilm newspaper, we try to buy 2 copies. The reason being is because one is kept in-house for preservation purposes. It is not allowed to leave the building, but the other copy, or copies in some cases, are available through MelCat. Just to give you a personal example, I do reside in Grand Rapids, and I one time wanted to get a book, and it was at the Grosse Pointe Library in suburban Detroit. I MelCatted it, and within a few days, it came to the Grand Rapids Library. Same thing holds true for any materials in the Upper Peninsula, the Lower Peninsula, East Side, West Side, North Side of the states. Basically, it is available through MelCat if your library is a MelCat library. And again, most academic and public libraries are. Now, just to talk about the Library of Michigan card, because for the remainder of the time today, we'll be talking about how important it is to have a Library of Michigan card. And I will show you the reasons being, the details as to why. And just to show you, all Michigan residents are available for the Library of Michigan card. Again, all Michigan residents are eligible to get a Library of Michigan card. So just to tell you, you don't have to come into the building to get a card. You can get it remotely. There is a wait period, generally 2 to 3 days, but sometimes depending upon volume, could be upwards to a week. But generally within 2 to 3 days, if you fill out an online application at www.michigan.gov/Library of Michigan, you can get a Library of Michigan card if you reside in the state of Michigan. We always get this question, well, I was a Michigan resident, I live in Indiana. No, you have to reside in the state. Sturgis on up to Ontonagon, you can get a Library of Michigan card. As a resident of Grand Rapids or Plainfield or Wyoming, you can get a Library of Michigan card. You have to be a resident. So this is the application here. It's very brief. You can do it all online. You never have to leave your house. We do want you to visit the library sometime, but in the meantime, you can get the card and you can use it from home. So what do you get when you get to use it from home? If you go to the category on our website at michigan.gov/Library of Michigan and under For the Public, you will see this link called Online Resources for Library Card Holders. It brings you to this page, which starts you off with a list. And just to give you an idea of all the different databases we have here at the Library of Michigan, this is the full inclusive list right here. So it includes materials like Ancestry, Fold 3. These 2 were available from home during the height of the COVID crisis, but Ancestry has now ended that remote access. But in the meantime, you do have access to the Grand Rapids Press from 1893 to 2000, Heritage Hub, which is a full collection of obituaries from the database called Genealogy Bank. This is a national resource. Michigan Sanborn maps from 1867 to 1970, and the Detroit Free Press from 1831 to 1999, and the Michigan Chronicle 1936 to 2010. We also have online resources available from home, like the Globe and Mail out of Toronto, case you have your research bleeds over into Canada, or like family history or something like that. Also the Detroit News, 1873 to 1999. But today, right now, the Grand Rapids Press, the Heritage Hub, Michigan Sanborn Maps, Detroit Free Press, and the Michigan Chronicle are the ones we'll be talking about today and are available from home with your Library of Michigan card. So just to look at it, Grand Rapids Press, 1893 to 1999, just to give you an idea, that's almost the full run of the Grand Rapids Press, full text articles, not partial articles, full text, available with your Library of Michigan card. I just happened to put in a keyword search of George Welsh, longtime mayor, commissioner, manager, alderman of the city of Grand Rapids. And when I put in that search into the Grand Rapids Press, I got a treasure trove of articles. In fact, over 1,900 articles on George Welsh, or that mentions George Welsh alone. This right here is something I really want to stress today. Look at this. It's called the date selector. This actually happens to be, this graph, the frequency of the articles on George Welsh by decade. Now, if we move on and I try to choose a decade, say the 1940s, because I know something about Welsh during that time, 40 to 49, I suddenly get this. The date selector goes down to the year. And suddenly I see the frequency of articles in a given year from 1940 to 49. So I start with decade, then I go down to year. And I just happen to know that George Welsh was very, very, very influential during this time. And there is a treasure trove of articles during the 1940s. But again, overall, from 1893 to 1999, over 1,900 articles in the Grand Rapids Press. Now, I want you to imagine, this is full text, fully searchable, available from home. Any obituary, any sports article, any article to do with either a family member or your historical research that might have been in the Grand Rapids Press, which for many people and many stories was the newspaper of record in Western Michigan for a long time, is available through this database with your Library of Michigan card. Just to show you too, you can also limit by all text articles, whether George Welsh was in the lead or first paragraph, whether his name was in the headline, and you can do this with any subject you want in the Grand Rapids database. Now moving on to Heritage Hub. Heritage Hub is one of my favorites. Heritage Hub is a subset of the database called Genealogy Bank. And yes, it is more of a genealogy resource, but I always say genealogy and history research are really, in many cases, synonymous. And for me, this is just an exciting resource, first of all, because it's national in scope. It's not just Michigan, but it has a very strong Michigan subset. I'm going to use an example today that's more personal, and this actually happens to deal with my great-grandfather. I decided to do an obituary lookup on my great-grandfather, William Gleisner, and I found a listing from 1970, which was the date of his death, and I found the full text obituary from the Milwaukee Journal. Why this is important is because the surprise that I got out of this obituary article was that my great-grandfather was living in Whitehall, which is in northern Wisconsin. Why this is doubly important is because from this resource, I know that my great-grandfather and I both basically intersected for a month while we were on this planet. I never knew this before this. I would ask all of you to look at this important resource and ask yourselves what you can do with this in your own personal research, your historical research. And just to give you an idea, in Michigan alone, again, a national database, we have the Detroit News, the Daily Telegram from Adrian. We have the Dowagiac Daily News, the Davison Flagstaff, papers from Royal Oak, Detroit Jewish News, and on and on and on. All these Michigan resources are available with this database called Heritage Hub, again, available with your Library of Michigan card. Now, Michigan Sanborn Maps. Michigan Sanborn Maps, fantastic collection. And I hope all of you have witnessed the program that was done by the Grand Rapids Public Library. This actually happens to be a collection of maps covering from 1867 to 1970. This is a collection of resources that really is a fantastic resource for anybody doing property research, business research, architectural research. And really what it is, it's a collection of what's called fire insurance maps. Sanborn Company basically produced these maps so that they could compensate owners of buildings or blocks that might have been burnt up in fire. I know from my research in Holland that they would even list things as minute as piles of wood in the backyard. And if you know Holland history, you know about the Holland fire from 1870. And they literally would list piles of wood during that time. So you go in, you select a state. We select Michigan. You can look at all the different cities that are available, and many of the incorporated areas in the state had Sanborn maps produced. And I decided I'm going to venture out of West Michigan. I'm going to look at Port Huron. I really don't know much about Port Huron other than I drive through it. But under Port Huron, I get a collection of dates: 1887, 1892, 1898, 1903, 1911, and then 1911 to 1950. But Tim, this is not every 10 years like the census. And I would say you're right, it's not. Sanborn was a private company, and they basically were inventorying cities throughout the country and were doing them at different times, dependent on business needs. I don't know if it had to do with personnel or just a schedule they had, but the dates are sporadic, to say the least. And it's the same for Grand Rapids. It's the same for Holland. It's the same for Muskegon. All these maps are basically produced at different times, and the frequency really depends on the company and their needs and their business interests. But just to give you an idea, just like a Sanborn map in Grand Rapids, the Port Huron maps have a digital or a front atlas index where you can look up the different neighborhoods. And I happened to choose one neighborhood in particular and then went down into a certain block. Now, I want you to look at this block of, or the corner of Huron and Butler in Port Huron, because you'll notice O'Neill Brothers and Company, grocery and crockery. We have a barber shop. We have a drugstore, on and on and on. In any research that you do, these maps are invaluable for historical research. It could be genealogy, could be historical. And again, Grand Rapids is available on here. Holland would be available, Muskegon, Grand Haven, all those Western Michigan communities, Ionia, all available with your Library of Michigan card, all the full text of the Michigan Sanborn maps. Now, the Detroit Free Press, 1831 to 1999. Again, another database available remotely with your Library of Michigan card. Detroit Free Press, really the paper of record in many cases for the state as a whole, but I would ask all of you to look at that early date, 1831. Realize that many of the Grand Rapids papers are not available digitally in that early period. But what's great about the Free Press is that they were writing articles statewide about the state, the whole of the state, as early as 1831 and onwards. So I just happened to do a quick search on Lewis Cass. And again, look at the date selector and basically by decade. And Lewis Cass starts to show up in the first article, May of 1831, in the Democratic Free Press and Michigan Intelligencer, which was what the paper's name was back in 1831. And look at the full text. We get all the references to Lewis Cass or Cass throughout that article from 1831. Fantastic resource for anybody doing Michigan history research. Again, the Detroit Free Press, one of the oldest, one of the most renowned papers of record in the state, all available, its historical archive on the Library of Michigan site with the Library of Michigan card. Moving on, we have the Michigan Chronicle, the largest and oldest African-American paper in the state of Michigan, from 1936 to 2010. Same thing, this time I decided to do Joe Louis. Now, I'm not going to show you the date selector frequency, but this actually happens to be an article from the 1940s, 1946 to be exact, and he literally is in a program or a set of speeches where basically he's there with the later who's to become mayor of Detroit, Coleman Young, talking about the problems of African Americans in Detroit during that period, specifically African American veterans. So again, a rich resource, Michigan specific, available with your Library of Michigan card, all available through the Library of Michigan website. So Grand Rapids Press, 1893 to 2000, Heritage Hub, National Databases, Michigan Digital Sanborn Maps, 1867 to 1970, Detroit Free Press, 1831 to 1999, Michigan Chronicle, 1936 to 2010, but also the Globe and Mail out of Toronto. So if your Great Lakes research extends into Ontario, also the Detroit News Historical, all available with your Library of Michigan card. So this is contact information for the Library of Michigan. That's our address at 702 West Kalamazoo Street in Lansing. Our phone number, our main phone number is 517-335-1477. And you can contact us at librarian@michigan.gov, or you can find us on Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram. Our main website is here at michigan.gov/library Michigan. You can get a library card at michigan.gov/library card, or you can look up those databases at michigan.gov/family history. Again, my name is Tim Gleisner. I'm the head of collections at the Library of Michigan. My email, gleisnert@michigan.gov, and my phone number, 517-335-8389. Thank you all for today. I hope you have a wonderful time with this current selection of History Detectives in 2022. I hope to see all of you in person in the coming year, and have a wonderful day.